Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, here we go. Ah, hmm. Hello, so welcome everybody. Um, Wild Heart Sisterhood, episode 3 with Carmen Kane. Just a little bit about these interviews is that I've traveled a lot and I've met incredible women. I've had the honor to sit beside and co-facilitate with many different women, from my film experience into the work that my husband and I do, into the women's retreats that myself and other facilitators do. So I woke up one day and was inspired to begin these interviews. And it definitely is a learning curve, and I'm here learning as everyone else, new beginnings, new technology. Trisha herself is getting updated all the time. So I welcome you, Carmen. For those that are just coming in and joining us, it's a Sunday casual conversation, and Carmen specializes in the breath. And we're going to talk about that and relationship, and is this incredible woman that is all about love and connection and an incredible space holder. I've had the honor to sit with Carmen, to have breath journeys with Carmen, and to witness both of our growths, in the last, I don't know, year and a half, 2 years that we've spent together. So, hi, Carmen.
Good morning. Yeah, it feels so sweet to land with you. Thank you. Thank you for having me with the community today.
Yeah, beautiful. So, this episode, I love to go over the breath, the science of breath. Many people are, you see it kind of starting to be really active in the communities as a process of healing. For myself, I've always been curious about the science. So, to me, the translation of the spiritual, the science to everyday life, and part of the work that I do is how are you going to bring it home to your family and your life? Because that's actually what creates that change and that difference. So I'd love to talk about that. And then just let's see how the conversation goes. We've got this half an hour, 40 minutes. Let's see what is inspired and happens. And anybody joining live, please comment, ask questions. We'd love to answer them. All right, Carmen. So can you speak a little bit about the breath?
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. And the beauty of the breath, the medicine of the breath, is really that it is our it's our opportunity to bridge the spirit with the material, the earthly world, and so inviting the spirit of the breath to fill the entire body. So how we breathe is a reflection of how we live, and so we all have these beautifully unique breath patterns. It's like a little fingerprint that we carry based on our life experience. And so how our breath flows through our system, where it might get stuck, where it might rub up against something that has, that's stored in our system, is going to be based on what's happened, and what we've experienced throughout our journey, and maybe what we haven't been able to process yet. And so in these unique breath patterns, as we start to get curious and develop a relationship of depth with the breath, we actually are able to shift our breath pattern. And so in that shift of the breath pattern, it works in a really beautiful reflective way, is that the patterns that are associated with where we might have been holding, and where we might have been inhibited in flow, as we restore flow to those areas, we'll actually see the patterns in life start to shift as well. And so it's really quite an empowering journey to say, okay, I'm actually going to reclaim my relationship with my health. I'm going to reclaim my relationship with vitality and use my connection to and relationship with the breath to guide that process. And, again, as you spoke to, that I guess what lights my heart up is how we can actually start to see the shift, of course, within the body temple and the functioning of our body system. and also how that ripples out into how we relate to ourselves, but also to those in our life. And so it really creates this beautiful ripple of change in the dynamic of our relationships as well.
Beautiful. And you know, how we breathe is how we live our life. Yeah, that's wonderful. I was saying to someone the other day that, when and so my background is a lot with horses. For a long time, I worked with horses, rescued horses, and they were the first one that introduced me to breath, calming my system down, because they mirrored directly whatever was going on with me. So in the moment my breath calmed was the moment, and my heart rate calmed was the moment they started to trust. So when you're speaking, I'm also feeling like that's what gets built. Is that trust inside self. To reclaim all those spaces is building that trust, and is allowing our heart open and life to flourish in our nervous system and all the bodies, our emotional body, our mental bodies. Everything to me feels like it gets realigned and rebirthed and reopened.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, beautifully said. And horses are such powerful teachers for that, right? They carry such potent medicine, and in relationship, whether it's with animal or otherwise, is there's an opportunity for co-regulation that happens within the nervous system and within the breath. And so that's really the beautiful gift of shifting the vibrational frequency, the quality of our breath, and that is then what ripples out. And so yeah, there's a beautiful opportunity when we start to just develop our own curiosity and our own relationship with the breath, is that it invites us into those spaces of restoring flow by way of feeling that which we haven't maybe felt safe to feel. So oftentimes with our practices on our personal paths, we really love to expand up and out, to ascend and connect with spirit and creation, however we define that. And that's really beautiful. And I think an important piece of the journey of being human is to fully descend into and land within the body.
Yeah.
And it's that idea of, okay, I'm opening up to the embodied felt sense that it's actually safe to be in my body. It's safe to feel, and it's safe to be me.
Yeah.
And I think, our breath is the portal to feeling. So when it doesn't feel safe to feel, and it doesn't feel safe necessarily, we aren't in a space of trust, we hold, we restrict, and our breath shuts down.
Yeah.
And so the process of conscious connected breath work is like a massage from the inside of slowly opening us, right? It's like, okay, I'm gonna go gently, and I'm gonna allow myself to reopen parts of me that had been shut down in protection. I'm going to reopen parts of me that I haven't actually felt in a really long time, so that those loops of trauma cycles that are running in our system are completed, and we're actually able to create brand new neural pathways.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we see that in our work, So our work is whoever hasn't experienced it is of the opening in the heart. We utilize a bit of breath. We don't go into the depth, Carmen, of what you offer. But what we do notice is that that's a signal for us, is the places that people are holding. We can hear it and feel it in their breath, and it points to where they're holding or what we would say in language, collapsing in. So that's that experience you were speaking of earlier, not having a safe place to land in one's own body, or not feeling safe. So yeah, it's beautiful. And what we've noticed, really strongly, especially right now in 2020, is that it takes a lot of focused energy to stay grounded and stay in the body. Like you said, that bridge from from the universe to in the body is being built like right now. All of us are in the depths of that. There's no getting away from it. You know, that anchoring is really required right now. So yeah, beautiful. I was, as you're speaking, you know, and like I said earlier, I myself have experienced you in a ceremonies, and amazing and beautiful and so nourishing for my whole being. I was just curious, Carmen, what had you move into breath? Like, you've had a very curious life. I know you're very curious.
Oh, yeah.
And just wondering if you could share, like, you know, a lot of our viewers are people that are feeling this yearning and burning to make fundamental shifts in their life. If anything this year has taught all of us is that it's time to really live the life that is calling us. There's no more time to waste. So part of these interviews is all inquire, like, where you began, the Carmen that began, and then moved into what you offer with such beauty now. So if you don't mind speaking a little bit about your story and sharing that.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, thank you for seeing me in my curiosity, because it is quite endless. And I think that's part of my design. Even as a young one, I was endlessly curious, asking lots of questions, and just, you know, navigating and finding my way. I was also gifted a really hypersensitive and aware system. And so in the West, that was categorized as pathological and needed intervention. And in my heart, I knew that there was something about it that was calling me deeper, calling me bigger, and that there was a gift to be unwrapped in that. And so I think that was where I started to get curious about my breath initially, was out of survival, of managing and navigating through my own system and the massive waves of energy that would otherwise overtake me. And so it really became a tool for myself in the moment of saying, okay, right, like bringing myself back into my body, into it, the safety of my experience through the presence of the flow of my breath. And yeah, I remember as a young, in my early teens, and listening to my yellow Walkman with these tapes guiding me through conscious awareness of my breath. And you know, it was a really it was a potent tool to help me walk a path that was uh, bigger than I was, and so it became an incredible ally. And as I experimented and, you know, walked through my own journey, I ended up in the field of social work, and in that, working a lot with families and youth in, you know, high stress crisis situations where the nervous system was completely you know, it was completely activated, and there was a lot of survival type situations that I was a part of. And so it was like, okay, what can we use in this moment to be able to support coming back into the body and into a space where we could even entertain the idea of moving forward at all, right?
Yeah.
And so again, the breath became really powerful in those moments. And I really started to notice in the world of you know, just the Western clinical world, and the exploration of talk therapies and things like that, is it really, in some ways, it can keep us quite attached to and associated with our stories.
Yeah.
And so what I was seeing was again and again this loop that was happening, and there wasn't any genuine resolution within somebody's nervous system. And so it led me to, okay, well, how can we actually support the body to, you know, actually shake off what it is, the pattern that it's running, so that it can forge a new way. And so that just led me to, Eastern modalities and philosophies. I studied with a couple different lineages within yogic traditions and exploring deeply with pranayama and breath in that way. And eventually, that on my own journey led me to conscious connected. It came in at a time in my life which was very transitional for me personally. And so again, I think it was okay. Every time there was a new threshold that I myself walked through, the spirit of the breath was like, cool, you're ready for a deeper level. And so it was like, here's just some basic breathing techniques as a youth that will help you in the moment. And then it was like, wow, here's some really potent pranayama techniques to explore the science and spirit of what's moving through your body. And then it was like, all right, like here now you're everything that's happened has led you here. You're ready to drop into the power of conscious connected breath. And so it was a personal practice for a while before I stepped into sharing it. It was a curious exploration of like, wow, like I really wanted to develop that embodied relationship with the breath and really experience it through my own system and share from that place. So it was great. I experimented with many different styles, with many different teachers, and walking. I'm an eclectic practitioner. I always have been, and so it's just like I always think like throwing spaghetti at the wall and being like, cool, like what sticks. And so taking some time really to find my edges before I found my way.
Yeah, yeah. And you just said is so important. It's finding our way and not being afraid of the edges. Because you've got
Yeah.
to try so much before really allowing yourself to embody what is calling you. I'm going to share like a little secret. Like I was wanting to thinking, oh, maybe I'll become a practitioner, Carmen, because our work always keeps inspiring me. And then it was during one of the breath journeys that was actually for me to continue what I do. And it was a little bit shocking because my mind already had in place what it would be being a breath facilitator. But my inner being was, now I'm saying that with a knowing that at any moment it can change. Even as this goes out, may change the moment this goes out. But the important thing was the inner listening. So for myself, it's been a tool of inner listening that has, as Beth has called you, my inner listening has called me, and observation and staying curious and staying open and aware and feeling my edge. And I think it's really important for people to know, try different things. Just like if you put on a shirt, you may change 3 or 4 times before that shirt is what you want to wear for the day. And everything that you begin to work with and embrace becomes part of your embodiment. Because we're not separate. And so even the edges are, and in fact, I'm backing up. And in fact, our edges are some of our biggest learnings that help create that foundation. So
Oh yeah,
it's beautiful how you're.
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. And I think that you've touched on something that's so important, and it's part of the empowerment journey. The embodiment journey is, and reclaiming our choice and our voice, and saying, okay, like now I'm able to sit with and feel into what feels right for me, what feels good for me, where feels right to land, and I'm going to trust that. So I mean, that's true, of course, in finding somebody to work with the breath. Fit is so important. And with any modality or in any relationship, it's so important to really sit with and feel into, okay, where is my heart telling me I'm meant to go, and really listening deeply to those whispers. And that can be a journey in and of itself, is quieting enough to be able to hear the whispers. But I think it's really wise to get curious and say, okay, get curious about somebody's training, about their background, about what their intention is in the breath work. It's an umbrella term that represents so many different practices with what can be really varied intentions as well. And so it's like, okay, cool. Bringing it back to self always, and just gauging and saying, okay, like what feels true, and not even necessarily having to know the outcome, but just following that whisper, that calling to say, okay, like I'm being led here, and in that I'm being held. Because and this kind of circles back to the trust and safety piece that we talked about earlier, is that is such a huge piece. If we're not feeling safe to open in our roots, we're not going to open to the fullness of the experience that's here for us. And I mean, when we look at things from a trauma sensitive perspective, is a really it can be a really important consideration to, again, it's like that softening and massaging open versus the it's yeah, exactly. So it's the feminine, it's the allowance versus the masculine of the forcing and creating. I'm going to make something happen.
That's a good one, right? For anybody out there that has ever tried to make their heart opening happening.
Oh yeah. Me, yeah, definitely. I've been there.
And of what you're speaking to comes into the space too, about that we're all in evolution anyway. So right now we're in this incredible evolution moment, and anything that's separated in separation or division is extra highlighted, and it's to inspire us, back to wholeness. It's to inspire us to be curious about, wow, what is alive in me that is no longer current? What am I carrying that is no longer necessary for me to carry? Really getting to know self. And one of the things about the work that you do, the work I do, is it really is something that, what's the word? Interweaves together, like it supports each other. It's really fascinating, because we've sat together in all different ways to witness it coming together the way that it does. Yeah, and I just have great respect for you and your journey and what you offer, how you hold space, and for some people that don't know, my husband and I actually had the privilege of officiating your ceremony, your sacred ceremony of coming together, you and your husband. And I can't believe that was only a short while ago in Mexico, right? Like not even a year ago.
Yeah.
It's an amazing time right now. And, and the other one thing I wanted to kind of mention as we move along here is that you and I are coming together to facilitate more in the future. We're working with that. Like I said, because I feel that what you bring and what I'm able to bring really is a beautiful marriage of space that's quite unique and beautiful. I also I have a curious question for you, Carmen, is what do you notice, like, this happens for people, 'cause wherever we're at right now, we're these all different spaces, like we're beginning to get curious about who we are, and we don't have to actually be in pain. We might be deep in the movement of processing and trying to figure out things, or we might be someone that's been on the journey for a while and is feeling that yearning, new beginning, like something is stirring. Uh, and so, and I'm just kind of curious, like, how does breath for you translate in your life? Like, just if you could give a couple of stories about before you practice breath, and then now how that situation or that space, how you're able to be with it. Is there anything spontaneously you can share about?
Yeah, for sure. Thank you. And I just want to circle back to you and just honor all the ways in which we have woven together, because it has been so beautiful, and we are infinitely grateful for your support in so many ways. And I think it illuminates a really important point too, is the fact that there's many ways.
Yeah.
And so it's really nice to have a village approach to how we nourish ourselves, and to really be able to celebrate and call on the different medicine that we're needing throughout the seasons of our life, right? Or throughout the seasons of any moment in time for us. And so for that, yeah, I think it's so beautiful when it, like you said, it weaves together quite effortlessly. So and I guess that kind of trend takes me into my personal relationship with the breath, if I'm understanding correctly what you're asking me, is
Yeah, just
how
yeah, that would be
how
beautiful.
I embody the teachings and my relationship to the breath on the daily. Um, yeah, it's and I guess like my world pre and post relationship to the breath of this depth is it is quite different. And it, I have an established daily practice with conscious connected breath, and it just becomes an opportunity for me to just drop into and dance with spirit in
Mm,
a really luxurious way. And so I've, and also intuitive unwinding to really listen to the body and what is wanting to move, and support that movement, so that knowing that as I oscillate along this spectrum of felt sense experience in my humanness, which I most certainly do,
mm,
I'm able to access the breath as a tool. And so it becomes, personally for me, my immediate go-to for a state change. Okay, I'm either needing to just open up a little inspiration within me, I'm needing to open up a little bit of perspective within me, maybe a little bit of grounding and compassion within me as I'm in relationship to somebody else, is really noticing what my breath is doing in that moment, and becoming present to and empowered in my own response to the world around me. And so it's really helped me to shift from reactivity to responsiveness, which has been huge.
beautiful.
Obviously, in the quality and depth of my relationships, it's quite supportive. And just, my own evolution of landing deeper all the time. Um, I also really recognize a stark contrast in myself. I was recently asked, where, if anywhere, in my journey have I noticed my ego getting in the way? And
Mm,
I was just like, wow, that's a really beautiful, and I feel like it's kind of along the same inquiry here of, and I really initially sat with it and was like, wow, okay, so there's definitely been times on my path in which I've shown up in that space of righteousness, and that um like this way works so well for me, and I just want to share it with everybody, and knowing that there's, again, like we spoke about, there's many ways. But then the other way that it is shown up on my journey, which I feel like the breath has been such a powerful ally in, is my getting in my own way, and playing a little bit small, and playing a little bit safe, and being a little bit afraid to be seen, and being a little bit tentative about fully stepping in. And so I think that the relationship that I've developed with the breath is a constant reminder of, okay, my soul is speaking to me, and it's not about me. And so I think that that's been an important piece, is that it was never about me, except that I made it about me. And until I haven't, and really remember that stepping in is about saying yes to that sacred soul contract that I've made to be here at this time, and using the breath as a tool to, you know, massage out those places in me that really carry that energy of separateness, like you've spoken to, right? Where it's just like, who am I to be standing up and sharing in this? Like, who am I who, is standing up and holding space for others, when there's things on my own journey that I'm having to move through, and really reconciling that that is also the part of the space holder to move through their own stuff. And well, it's an essential part, right? And so as long as we're human, we're not immune to that. And so I feel like, yeah, it's just knowing 3 breaths is enough to create space in myself. Coming together with my beloved and sharing collective breaths is enough to create a bridge back to connection in those times that maybe we've started to withdraw or close our hearts. And so yeah, I really like the idea of letting it be easy and simple. And so I feel like it's just been a huge gauge. Okay, so I'm feeling a lot of emotion. What's my breath doing right now? I'm feeling a lot of overwhelm. What's my breath doing right now? And can I actually shift it? And sometimes the answer is like, yeah, you know what, I'm open to shifting it. And sometimes it's like, I need a minute to just be with the energy that's moving through me. And you know, there's a resistance to shifting it. And then it's like, okay, I've got to wait for that invitation, that opening, that softening to actually shift.
Yeah, and it's interesting too, as you're speaking, I'm feeling about just what you said, in the inquiry of self, with the breath, with whatever modality that is moving with you, it's really that inner maturity that happens with self when recognizing, oh, like you said, do I sit with and just move whatever emotion is happening? And what is that invitation from inside guiding me to do? Because I feel that part of this ego mind that gets involved is a position of wanting to hurry through something, whatever it is. I have something I've learned. I'm doing well with it. Now I'm going to take that, whatever I've learned, and hurry through to, like you said, to make it happen, or try to manipulate or to change it to be something more comfortable. When actually, it's what you and I have spoken to about before with other things that we speak into. It's how can we be with whatever moment is presented? If it's hard, soft, whatever, and knowing, like something you touched into, the next breath and take us to the next moment. And so it's this space where staying curious, not trying to change what is, being with what is moving moment to moment, breath to breath, and the willingness and the curiosity to guide us. And I love what you beautifully said too. I want to kind of backtrack a bit about space holder. Often people will, as long as we're human, our ego mind, our ego self will try to get involved with it. It's just natural. It's not saying no one is immune to that. It's the willingness to observe it. So the ego mind you're speaking of righteousness, or for clarity for people listening, the shadow side of the ego is the one that keeps us small. They're both the ego at play. So it's like knowing, wow, look at, like, wow, okay, so my mind's involved here. How can I be with myself to get out of the way of whatever is moving and holding? And I feel like as also, as a space holder, there's sort of these inner initiations. So the more you hold space and the more you're present, the more you're aware, you have people around, the more feedback you get, the more you witness the results of what you offer starts to becoming alive in other people. So it's the patience of allowing the universe and our soul and movement for it to expand and grow us, and the willingness to be growing always. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And I think just like, and I mean, that's so beautifully said. And I think that it's really resigning ourselves to that our practices aren't an attempt to feel better. They're an attempt to feel everything,
Yeah.
to feel the,
Yes. Hallelujah.
the depth of our human experience, and knowing that, it's all of it is, I guess, impermanent, right? Like it's just energies that are moving through, and so we just become this vessel. And so it's like, okay, how can I clean my vessel enough so that they don't stick on as they're making their way in and through, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think
Yeah.
that it is just a deep remembering that we are all doing our best, and we are all these beautiful reflections for each other, in so many ways. And we're all teachers, we're all students.
Oh,
And, I really have the feeling that it's the more I learn, the less I know. And so the more I can get out of the way. And that's really the gift of it, is saying, okay, like now I'm just able to listen deeper, listen more deeply. And now I'm able to trust, implicitly, and I'm able to take inspired and bold action, um, from that place of deep listening, and trusting in the unfolding, and trusting in the unknown of it, especially at this time in our world.
yeah, absolutely. So Carmen, I was, as I'm listening and feeling and receiving and feeling everyone out there, what would you like to say to people? We mentioned earlier about this is a real time where people are really feeling into and being faced with huge transition and huge change. And some people are in those places of, wow, I really want to step into who I am. I really want to offer who I am. Or maybe they're being called and they're still resistant to their calling, jump off one train and go on another. So, what would you like to say to inspire and for everyone that is, we say women here, women, young people, men, anyone listening that want really to encourage and inspire them to go for what they're being, their heart, their purpose, their vision? What would you like to say to them?
Wow. That's a deep, beautiful inquiry. Whew. Let me just sit with that for a second.
Yeah.
Hmm. What initially drops in is just a curiosity about the magic of the world, and just a an even opening to the idea that there's infinite possibility and potential. And so that can feel like something that's so quite grand, and just trusting that those little calls, those little seeming coincidences, those little invitations are the opening. And so really allowing it to be simple and easy as we start. I think, myself as a definite recovering overachiever, I can be quite overzealous about things. And so when I get an inspiration, it's just like, whoa, yes. And knowing that, again, it can be really small, meaningful steps that take us in those bigger directions. And so, yeah, I would just get really curious about, um, even how to invite in a little bit of openness on the daily. So even one simple daily practice, and just observing the shift that happens, observing what's happening within the the body temple, and how that's being reflected in the world around you, right? And just gathering evidence to be like, okay, wow, I'm onto something, and really going that. So I think it's to stay curious and to stay open, and just really knowing that our inner or our outer world is a reflection of our inner. And so it becomes this, if you're feeling the call, and if something's tugging at you, if you're waiting for a sign, like, this is it. Your body is speaking to you, your heart is calling for you. and your soul is welcoming and beckoning you home. And so really just trusting that it, like you had said, that it's a level of initiation. And so it's like, okay, well, how can I now and it's always super sweet to find a guide that really resonates, to keep in that space of openness, because it's like the breath. We expand and we're like, wow, this is amazing, and then we have to exhale and we contract. And having support during those contractions can be really great, knowing that the next expansion is coming, versus being like, oh man, I'm stuck, I've moved backwards. Yeah. And then from a breath perspective, I mean, obviously that's what's really close to my heart. And so my invitation is always to just start to develop a new relationship with the breath. Reclaim your inhale. Our inhale is our, like you had spoken about, it's our opportunity for a fresh start, a new beginning, an invitation to be here now. It's a declaration. I am here. I am choosing to be here. And just simply choosing that again and again. I'm choosing to be here. I'm choosing to get curious. And, despite what might be happening in and around me, I'm still making the choice to be active in the unfolding of my journey.
Beautiful. Yeah, gorgeous. I'm just witnessing and feeling people listening, whether they're listening now or later, and just that awareness that we're always having an invitation, no matter what it looks like on the outside of us. That every opportunity is there and present if we can allow ourselves to take a breath or two or three, connect more with our breath, connect more with our present awareness, and really be able to start to listen for ourselves. One thing I wanted to invite is that you should take a few minutes to share about what you're offering right now and how people would get a hold of
you. Yeah, thank you. So right now I work in private practice, and I also work with groups. So an invitation to connect. If you're curious about your unique breath pattern and what your breath is telling you, it's like, it's an invitation from your soul to just listen. And so I'd love for us to connect and chat about a free breath translation. And so it just offers an opportunity to dive into, okay, what is the spirit of the breath trying to communicate with me? So that's one really beautiful way. And it's something that you can take with you in your journey forward, however you choose to, however your path and wherever it leads you. I also work with radiant women space holders who are looking for a place for themselves to land. Sacred soul care and sisterhood in a 12-week reclamation journey of the breath. And, as space holders, we always need those places where we can be held as well. And so that becomes a really beautiful journey, either in a group setting or in a private. And then if you're a practitioner in a certain modality and you're holding space for others and curious about how the teachings of the breath or the tool of the breath can support and deepen your own practice of that's actually quite tailored to the modality that you're in, an opportunity to drop into a beautiful mentorship with the breath, and how it can obviously support a revolutionary personal relationship with it, and how that then translates into professional application as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then as I was saying earlier, you and I have a couple of surprises coming up.
Yes.
So I'll be in January, actually, a program for women that's online, and then at the end of the 6-week online is a weekend retreat live, and Carmen will be part of this with us. So she'll join us on the online, and then she'll join us in person for a journey at the weekend where we can all be together in that collection and that vibrancy of women coming together for healing, opening, and all this, the yumminess of coming together in community. When hearts have that curiosity and want to come together to explore the inner landscape of our soul. It's pretty profound, amazing, and life-changing. And, you know, as we kind of wrap up here, Carmen, I do want to honor you for the work you do and honor you for continuing to your curiosity, continuing to hold the love that you do on the planet for all those you care about intimately in your family, but also others that you hold space for. And also honoring you as a woman leader and facilitator. She's always willing to look at her edge and always willing for new beginnings and always willing to have a laugh and a giggle when that ego keeps us in line and either holds us back or has us melt a little bit more. So thank you for that. This interview will also be available on YouTube in about an hour. I'll share the link on the Facebook group live right now, streaming live. Carmen, I would love to invite you to send your links there for people dropping on if they want to get a hold of you so that they can just naturally listen to the interview and then connect with you. And I'm just looking forward to life unfolding, opening, unwinding, and the magic of creation coming in, and just all that is sparked, moved, and opened. You know, I can feel the women around us. I can feel the women behind them, the women behind them, behind them. It's really a call for women to do their inner work, to get clear, so we can all hold the space of the universe in our heart and our soul and creation. So and it's a big universe. So every star, every fingerprint is important, every gift. So thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's beautiful to remember that we chose to be here at this time. You know, this is the time that we have been rising for. And so I just so deeply receive those beautiful and kind words and that potent reflection for seeing that also in you and in the medicine that you carry and the way in which you walk and share in the world, and just how important it is, the beautiful women that surround you. And I just feel so deeply honored to be able to co-create and bring some really potent, like you said, deeply transformational offerings to life. And it feels so beautiful to be able to land with you in all these different ways. And thank you for creating this space and for being a guide and a beacon of light, and all of those really important things that just a soft place for us women to land and to recalibrate. So thank you.
You're so welcome. And everyone listening, if you have other comments or if you're listening later and you like to ask, both Carmen and I will check out the comments section. So don't be shy. Go ahead and ask the questions. Go ahead and message us however comfort you in your heart. And so this is the closing for now of episode 4. We're actually in episode 4. So thank you everyone for joining us, and thank you, Carmen, and many blessings. And look forward to the next moment and the moment that we sit together again and again.
Yeah, thank you. And to everybody listening, just so many blessings and so much love for however your path unfolds, and look forward to connecting in some way.
Bye for now, everybody.